Welcome the honorable panelists for today's webinar. It's our fifth webinar in the series of IHE 2020 Hospitality Sector Webinar Series. We are very happy to have our focus this time on the Mithai and Namkeen sector, as well as the bakery and confection sector. And we have both people from the equipment supply end, as well as from the top companies and the industry associations. Without further ado, I will invite Mr. Rakesh Kumar, Chairman of the India Expo Mart Limited, which organizes IHE 2020. I will invite him to deliver the opening address, and then we can start the deliberation. Mr. Kumar?
Good morning, Mr. Swadesh Bhattacharya. Namaskar to everybody, because this is the one we have given to entire world today in this.
Namaskar.
And the welcome to IHE Advisory Board members, my colleague Mr. Hari Dadu, the President of the IHE 20, eminent panelists who are the stalwarts of the sector, friends of IHE 2020, esteemed supporters, such as Mr. Sanjay Anand, Director and Promoter of the Hammer Publishers, who has given us a lot of input about this sector in particular. Friends, I extend a warm welcome to all of you with a little note of explanation. One of the panelists had asked us why we are clubbing together sweets and namkeens and bakery and confectionery, which are two mammoth industries with different product lines. I must point out that the clubbing together has happened for two reasons. One, our equipment supplier friends who are present at the India International Hospitality Expo, like our Nitinji, in substantial manner supply to both industries. And two, the food safety rules and compliance regime that are going to emerge in the post-COVID-19 era are of equal concern to both. This is particularly so because both industries have large unorganized sectors, and much of the business on the ground is conducted by micro entrepreneurs who will have to wake up to a new regulatory environment. For most of us consumers, in fact, the distinction blurs because our neighborhood bakery owner not only sells bread, biscuits, and cakes, but also traditional namkeen items. More importantly, both industries are major consumers of the wheat flour, sugar, and edible oils, and therefore major supporters of the nation's agriculture sector. I was reading in the online journal agroonfoodprocessing.com that the sweets and namkeen industries have crossed over the rupees 100,000 crore turnover mark and clocked a growth rate of 25% in the branded segment. A big clap to this sector, which is dominated Balaji's, Bikano, Bikaji, Yellow Diamond, and Cornitos, and an overall expansion of 10 to 12%, powered by 100,000 little entrepreneurs producing more than 500 different kinds of sweets, sours, and namkeens. Together, the sector provides employment to 1 crore people and a massive indirect support to our farmers. A great job being done by this sector. The Indian baking and confectionery industry, which has been valued at rupees 61,000 crore by the International Market Research Agency, IMARC, is projected to grow at a compound annual rate of 9.1% to rupees 1.15 lakh crore by the year 25. Although the bakery and confectionery sector is dominated by breads and biscuits in India, in fact, the world's #2 manufacturer of biscuits of the United States, the product mix has expanded to include a variety of multi-grain breads and granola bars, apart from sandwiches, burgers, and cakes produced by neighborhood bakers. Fortunately, for the two sectors, at least the parts producing the breads, biscuits, and packaged namkeens, the lockdown forced by the COVID-19 pandemic hasn't brought business to a complete standstill. But a significant percentage of the both sectors especially the mithai shops and neighborhood bakery, have had to shut shop because the lockdown. Friends, the pandemic moreover brings with this its specter of a tough food safety compliance regime coupled with the need for a complete re-engineering of the back end because of not only sticker rules, but also the new social distancing norms that will be stringently implemented across industries. The questions that we will address today include how has the COVID-19 pandemic impacted the sweets and namkeen and the bakery and confectionery sector in India? Is there a likelihood of a serious drop in demand after the lockdown is lifted? What are the prospects for the festive season? And many more, which Swareesh Bhattacharya is ready, in fact, with his entire questionnaire. We have thus far had 4 instructive and informative webinars, which are being conducted under the banner of the India International Hospitality Expo, IHE 2020, India's largest and most attended B2B hospitality show presented by the India Expo Mart Limited, Greater Noida. I'm sure the one ahead will result in slew of actionable ideas, especially in the areas of food safety and compliance. Wishing you the best, I invite the moderator of this series of the webinar, Swareesh Bhattacharya, to take over the promises to be free flow of takeaways for my friends in these 2 critical sectors of India's food economy. Our expert panelists, who are the eminent personality and stalwarts of this field, consist of Dr. A.K. Tyagi, a very renowned person in this field, Executive Director of the Haldiram Snacks Private Limited. I welcome you, sir. Ms. Seema Atreya, Independent Consultant, Food Safety, Quality, Product Development and Supply Chain. Mr. Firoz Naqvi, Director, Federation of Sweets and Namkeen Manufacturers. Mr. Nitin Kumar, Chief Executive, Rans Technocrats India Private Limited and also member of IHE Advisory Board. Mr. Arun Mittal, Managing Director, Prestige Systems. Mr. Hitesh Tripathi, CEO, Tech4 Serve Business Consultants LLP. Chef Rishabh Anand, Executive Pastry Chef, the Leela Palace, New Delhi, and a very renowned person in our ICF and NCCF activities. Friends, with this, I request Swareesh to please take the session forward for its fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar, and good morning again to all the panelists and the audience, which is growing in number. I will begin with Dr. Tyagi because he has seen the industry longer than all of us have. And I would, request Mr. Tyagi to give a perspective to the discussion. Do you think that the present COVID-19 pandemic and all the lockdowns and other issues it has caused, do you think this will have a lasting impact on the industry or that you'll be able to come out of it within a certain time frame?
Yeah. Good morning to everybody. I think currently it had the biggest effect on the sweet and namkeen industry. But according to us, it should be V-shaped, not the L-shape. It means during the time, maybe within 3-6 months, it will be recovered, especially for the company who will organize their show in a well way. If we take the example of serious organized player, so this COVID-19 rule, in which we are following most of the rule in our current situation. For example, we are already following the mask. We are already following the hand sanitizing practice. We have already following the GMP. Only we have to do re-engineering our soap as well as factory in terms of the social distancing, because we have to give 1.5 meter social distance between the people. Then we have to re-lay out our plant and machinery. We have to lay out our soap. However, in our system, most of our plant is fully automatic. So it required the very less labor, and social distance up to some extent had been maintained. But I think this is the need of the industry to think in another way, out of box. If we say the necessity is the need of invention. So for the COVID, we have to make the re-layout of the plant, re-layout of the soap, and mainly follow the social distance. And we have to do more automation to reduce the manpower cost, as well also to easily to maintain the social distancing. So according to me, it should be V-shape, not the L-shape.
Sir, what I would the social distancing norms create will it restrict production? Will it bring down the production of your lines of products?
In automatic plant, that social distance will not impact largely, but definitely in the manual plant, it will impact initially. But if you re-engineering your plant, re-engineering your shop, only you require the more space. Otherwise, it will not affect the efficiency. And secondly, the people will re-look semi-automation, re-look automation. So I think during the time of 3 to 6 months, we will be able to cope up and we will do the re-engineering. So there will be difficulty, but at the same time, it is doable.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Naqvi, I will bring you into the discussion. You're the director of the Federation of Sweet and Namkeen Manufacturers and also the publisher and editor of agroandfoodprocessing.com. I was wondering, Dr. Tyagi gave a picture of the organized sector where automation is big and, all systems are in place, which are also now HACCP compliant and other ISO compliant. But what are the huge unorganized sector in which our mithai and namkeen sector functions? How will you regulate or train these people?
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Tyagi gave a very good picture about the organized sector. Truly, they are really organized and wonderful factories we have visited. In unorganized sector, in the last 5 years or more than 5 years, I believe Seema would also agree with me that there is already a revolution taken place in mithai industry, because most of the traditional business families who used to own typical Marwari families, their next generations are all well educated and mostly foreign educated. So by the time these people started occupying the chairs in the offices, they started modernizing the businesses. That is at one end, which is we can see in many of the major snacks and mithai companies. But even in the smaller cities, activities at some end have gone more organized, because everybody is holding more than one shop now. Mostly in our membership also, if you see, we are having around 4,000 members, most of them are holding more than one shop. More than one shop means that they cannot cook mithai just behind the shop. They are having some centralized kitchen for the supply. So in this process, most of them started modernizing their things. And there's a very, unique thing happened in mithai industry. I think this is a very, it's a learning experience for the other industries as well. Cities like Mumbai, cities like places like Punjab, or many other like in Delhi, mithai walas are no more mithai walas. They are basically retailers. They are buying from somebody else all the mithais they prefer, all the mithais they want, and they are just selling at their shops. So already things have happened back end. People have organized themselves. Coming back to your question, what I observe, this entire COVID-19 episode, Corona lockdown, whatever we call, this would further aggravate the perceptions of the consumer as well as the seller, because now we will see more hygienic products demand in the industry, more of packed products, branded products demand, because consumer thinks that if it is a loose product, then it would be having some kind of contamination or human touch or something. So this will further accelerate the demand of branded and packed. And this is, we are sure that we are already working on it, and in the years to come or months to come, we will further emphasize on branding and packaging. I was talking to director of Haldiram a few days back. He said most of our sale right now is happening of packed and branded mithai, and we are focusing on that mostly.
Right.
Shows that the trend would change, perception would change. Post-COVID world, post-Corona world will be a different world.
In fact, on a personal note, I've been having a lot of Haldiram products during this lockdown period. I've discovered some new ones, and I created my own dishes based on them.
You will see more of it now. more R&D and more
more ready to eat sort of
yes,
products. And
yes.
Coming to Mr. Mittal, because I think all fingers point at the direction of technological developments. There will be a lot of expectations out of the supplier side of the business, the equipment manufacturers. What are the new developments that are happening that you would like to share with us?
Sir, we are very much in designing part. Nowadays, we are what we are doing sitting in the house, designing the equipment which take limited space, much more hygiene, proper temperature, and everything. And one man can work on one station, give the everything from one place.
Okay.
In restaurant also, we are designing the equipment. The person is stand on the stand and he can do the complete work there and deliver it without touching and maintaining all the temperature and everything. And that is much more, madam will be knowing about these things.
Oh, I'll be coming to her because she has a very big role to play in this whole discussion, But, coming to one point you made, look, Haldiram's, the Bikaner Wala, they're also in the food retailing business in terms of, they're also restaurant chains. Haldiram's is I see it as also the big restaurant chain. Similarly, Bikaner is a big restaurant chain. So, are you also, because you design products even for restaurants. So for
we are doing mainly for the restaurant and mithai shop only.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So any particular product that comes to mind which you feel will be much in demand in the when
you see the service counter nowadays.
Yeah.
We are designing a proper way. Okay, the person can give the one complete range from one counter.
Okay.
And cooking also, we are doing the same thing. Whatever the person is cooking anywhere, he will get the everything nearby. And we have to maintain the temperature. Whatever he want to keep in cold, he should keep in cold. And what are the things hot, he will keep hot.
Right.
And both things will be the same place.
Right.
And cooking also in the center, he should not move here and there.
Right. Okay, yeah, good. Mr. Tripathi, you were talking about, you were saying that post-COVID-19, you see 3 phases of development. Can you summarize what are the 3 phases and, how will the demand change?
I would start with a slogan, and this says, fly low is the new high. Because if we divide the current scenario, we could divide it into 3 stages, and for easy understanding, I would say currently the industry is in ICU. So a lot of operations are closed or operating on a very minimalistic stage. So currently a lot of actions cannot be taken. Now only the planning stage is there. We can plan and we can see how the plans are going to be executed. The second stage would be post-lockdown and before the vaccine comes. So that could be a period of 6 months, 8 months, 1.5 years, because we every day hear a news about a vaccine going into trial, but we don't know what will be the date till the vaccine comes.
Right.
And everybody is talking about the new normal. So the new normal obviously will be different because the psychology of the buyer and the manufacturer will change automatically, because it's a lot of psychological effect on everyone, be it the industry, be it the consumer. And I mean, see, the major thing is that, okay, we have the big players, we have the giants who will survive very well, but the industry also comprises of a lot of small players who have maybe 1 or 2 outlets, who have small operations. And they also play a major role in the smaller cities. In the metropolitan cities, the giants have obviously taken over. But then since we work pan-India and we see that in smaller cities, a single entity owner or a single player plays a major role because he's the fast mover or the biggest player in the city. And what I see is that there is a lot of panic situation. So we are resisting the change. And I would recommend that instead of resisting the change, we have to accept the situation. We have to declare a disaster, that there is a disaster. And once we declare a disaster, then we'll be able to act accordingly. Because until we keep on victimizing ourselves that, oh, this has happened, how will we survive? We'll not be able to move into a positive frame of mind and start thinking on the new thing. And
what are the technical solutions? You're saying it's a disaster.
I would say we have to adopt the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the business comes from the 20% of the products, or maybe 80% of the sales come from the 20% of the products. And similarly, 80% of the work is done by 20% of the team. So we have to cut down on the product menu and the product display for the time being, so as to cover the production capacity, because suddenly overnight the production facilities cannot be revamped. So we have to cut down on the menu and bring out the products which are the fast selling products, and maybe skip the ones which are low on volumes and low on profitability. Similarly, we have to cut down on the manpower accordingly. There are a lot of things, like there would be a lot of things to be done at the hygiene level, the back end. We have to maybe look at the e-commerce channel, look at better packaging, because there will be a lot of development in the packaging and investment in the packaging. So like Haldiram does the Very Pack. So there the product is sold off the counter at the airport, at FMCG stores. So the smaller players also have to think that how they can increase the sale window, not just from their own outlet. They can maybe get into the distribution network. They can get their product as FMCG with a better pack, with a better statutory, better compliances to be met with. And then we have to see how we increase the alliance. How do we increase the channel partners? So maybe franchising, small stores, small outlets, not a lot of dine-in, but maybe just pickup counters. And then at the pickup counters as well, we have to see how do we maintain the pickup points. Maybe yesterday we heard the UV scenario in the US. So we have to set up places where the food packet gets sanitized through a dry process, because spraying and wet sanitization won't be applicable for all the kind of products. And then it is like untouched by humans. So once it is packed, it gets sanitized, and then it is picked up by the buyer directly. Or maybe we have to get into a lot of apps so that we give a lot of comfort to the customer, because customer itself will be in a lot of panic. He's facing issues with the transportation. He's facing issues with the banking, with his own business, with his own job. So if we can enhance the experience of the customer at the food place, at our outlet, we will be able to grasp their attention and their loyalty.
Right. I think we come back to, we go to Mr. Kumar again with the same question I asked Mr. Tripathi. Now, he gave some solutions. What are the, in your line of business, what are the big, technological developments which you would like to recommend to the industry, going forward?
I totally agree with what Mr. Mittal said, and certain point what Mr. Naqvi has said. The redesigning of the kitchens and definitely are going to take place. There is an unorganized sector, there is an organized sector. The challenges will be there in unorganized sector. The organized sector, the space is there, like in which Haldiram is working. They have space, they have manpower, they have infrastructure, financial strength. Yes, they can do it. But for the unorganized sector, it is difficult. Technologically, automation will be there. You will have a lot of these like combi ovens, bulk cookers, these kind of equipment are going to take place in the kitchen areas, which I think so Haldiram is still using. Hotels are also using these things. But yes, there are certain challenges will be there. FSSAI norms, which I think Haldiram is taking, but the rest of the establishments have to take care of those also. New FSSAI guidelines are going to come over.
In fact, I was just seeing the FSSAI guidelines which they've just issued. And there's a 24-page booklet,
There are around 24 pages guideline. Yeah. It's a very, very stringent guidelines. If you go through those very stringent guidelines.
I mean, I doubt even whether anyone does it even now, the kind of cleaning and changing of gloves and changing of masks. You know?
Yeah, presently nobody is handling 100%. What is going to happen in future, it is still questionable. But yes, to a certain extent, as a basically industry, people have to adhere to those guidelines to a certain extent.
Right.
Then there are basically manpower reduction is definitely going to take place. And when you have technology, manpower reduction is going to take place. You will have.
That's a question. That's a question which is coming up. A lot of our viewers are asking, what will be the extent of job losses? You know,
I foresee at least around 20% of job reduction is going to take place. Because there is, if you still have certain designated working areas, but with the loss of business also, 20% of the job losses are going to take place in this sector.
Seema ji, which brings me to, I think everyone is pointing towards compliances, you know, and, you know, FSSAI has this fast track program, which you must be well aware of, you know. Now, you're associated also with the CII in a very big way. How do you think, there has to be a big combined push, you know, we have to have the Federation of Sweets and Namkeen Manufacturers, the bakery and confectionery, organizations, and the CII, all working together to promote, the message that the FSSAI is trying to send out. And, I was trying to calculate the number of times a person has to change his or her gloves in the industry, you know, person who's at the, say the person who's cooking something or preparing a dish. It's amazing the number of times the gloves will have to be changed. Can the industry do all this?
Are being followed by certified organizations. Certified organizations means organizations who have taken ISO 22000 or similar food safety certifications, which are available across. If you look at these organizations, they already have a certain level of hygiene practice in place, wherein a person has to wash his hands minimum 4 times while you are entering your work area. So one is at the entrance in the morning, then your tea time, your lunch, then your evening tea. So anyway, the person, whenever he's entering the production, the 9-hour shift is anyway forcibly being asked to wash their hands, right? Now let's come to the current scenario. Before these COVID guidelines were released, which seems like a very long docket of 24 pages, but I've already gone through those 24 pages, and to actually share with you, except for the virus, the virulent, I would say the people who are carriers, possible carriers, or are infected, except for that, most of the hygiene standards are pre-existing. Whether it is washing hands, whether it is sickness reporting, whether it is educating your staff about the health parameters, product handling, hygiene, sanitation, all these things are pre-existing. So these are only being reiterated through the document that has been released, with emphasis on COVID-19 handling, because this virus does not have a cure as of now. Otherwise, the food safety standards actually take care of any and every disease that can be communicated through food and water. There are many other pathogens. So it's not that people don't lose life, because by the time they've ingested a pathogen or a toxin, and by the time it is diagnosed, that by the 3rd day, the kidneys have already collapsed. There are many such cases. But the fact is that for most of them, it does not turn into a pandemic. It just remains as a food safety concern with a particular brand, or is reported as a mere incident, which again does not happen in our country, but there are several trackings available of such cases abroad. So in reference to COVID-19, the issue is only about tracking your staff's health more seriously pertaining to this disease.
That would require a little training, wouldn't it? Or, how does one get the message down the line, you know?
See, for this, there is again the food safety standards again give a guidelines that you have to basically train your staff. Training is the biggest tool and is actually the most successful tool for achieving whatever you want with your staff. You pre-train them, you certify them, and you retrain them. So most organizations, if you see, have very heavily invested in training and certifications. Training is a word. So you have to educate your staff in on the kind of precautions they need to take for their own safety as well as the food that they are handling. And post-COVID, what is going to happen is now suddenly this whole janta of ours, the whole population across the world has got a crash course in hygiene, right? So there are many more people who are repeatedly washing hands, they're sanitizing hands. Now they've understood when they go out, they take care that they do not bring contamination back into their houses. So it's like a massive crash course and it's going to stay with them for good. Right. So what one has to do post-COVID is maintain these sanitation standards. Also, especially since mithai industry and the bakery confectionery, most of it is very labor intensive. There is very less automation currently available in mithai specifically. And it is also considered at some point artisanal. So there is a complete involvement of a human being in manufacturing these products. Manufacturing, packing, handling, because these are delicate products. Therefore, it is all the more important that we educate this staff on handling of food which does not actually cause harm to anybody. And another thing is that since our customer today has got this crash course in hygiene and is now more learned, so what will be more important for us is to maintain these standards even post-COVID scenario, because our customer is expecting so much more from us now. And also the bigger thing is that communicating the same to the customer, that what are the standards you are maintaining. Just want to give an example, a reference which has happened recently. There were many big brands which were committing that they are following standards. Despite that, there was a very serious case in Delhi where a delivery boy was, kind of found to be a carrier. And then there was a possibility of contaminating almost 50 families. That is a huge risk. So the standards are new, and whenever new standards are released, they do seem difficult to follow, especially now that it requires maintaining at least 1 meter distance between two employees, which may be a little difficult when you're talking about labor intensive industry where manual intervention is required. And these changes cannot happen overnight. So it's not that, COVID-19 is over, lockdown opens, and then suddenly everybody starts getting down to re-engineering their factories. There's a huge cost involved in this.
Which brings me to another point, like a lot of people are talking about sanitizer tunnels. Do you think that's an answer to a lot of the problems, what are the structural issues that will come up?
Because somebody who's a carrier is actually carrying a risk of contaminating the food in other people. And the contamination is inside the body. If a worker is coming to a certified factory, he's supposed to change the uniform on the side. And on changing, you're reducing your contamination levels on the body. And these tunnels actually, they are exposing this chemical fumigant aerosol component of hypochlorite or alternate sanitizers into the lungs of a person. So these really do not work, and because this fumigation does not get into every fold of your body, your clothing, so these are not really effective.
So that brings me to Chef Rishabh. Chef, can you unmute him? So Chef, there are a lot of practices which are in place in five-star hotels, because you're the first in the food sector to really follow stringent standards, starting with HACCP, and moving on to ISO 24000. Like what are some of the practices that you follow, which you feel the rest of the industry or the other industries can adopt?
Basically, we see it will be more challenging while we are going to open after post COVID-19, and we will enhance the product. We'll try to give hygienic product to the guest, which will encourage almost more of our live counters, where we can prepare more healthy foods straight away to the guest table. This will help us. And now we have to increase preparation, like in bakery products, we have to increase in batches so that whenever it is available to the guest, it will go fresh. Though basic practices like washing hands, keep the kitchen hygiene is already been done in the hotel from the last couple of years. So that will continue and will be more stringent now.
Sorry, you also follow, anyway you have gloves and you have masks.
Yes.
Follow that.
No, we were not wearing masks in the live counters, though we wear gloves. Yeah.
But I think you'll have to start wearing masks now if you have live counters.
Yes, of course. In the preparation zone, we should be.
Yeah. Also, I guess you'll have to change gloves more often because you from one process to another, you'll have to change gloves.
Yes, of course, sir.
I think that is, that's what I gathered from the FSSAI rules. So are these, do you have your own FOSTAC training? Do you have an FSSAI certified staff member who is a trainer?
Yeah, in our hotel, there are 18 certified FOSTAC trainers. I am also one of them.
Okay, so are you training your people down the line?
Yes. During this period, though we are operational till date, whosoever is stuck in the hotel, we are regularly conducting a training on FOSTAC. Apart from the FOSTAC, we are also conducting training of our new menus, which we are going to launch. In the meantime, we get a lead time.
Talk about your new menus. Are they going to be smaller? Because like one of your most popular outlets, bakery always is a popular outlet. Okay, people come pick up stuff. Are you going to change a menu for the bakery? What are you going to do?
Definitely, we'll be going to change for the bakeries and for the outlets also. Though we are going to start not only with the fine dining restaurants, we'll go with a reduced menu, with the most popular selling items, which we have observed for the past couple of years. We'll be coming up with that for the time being. Then we are working on the new concepts. Be getting our attempt is to give more hygienic food to the guest now. So we'll be working on more conceptual based kitchen, like to prepare something very fresh and straight away to the table, so that people will be hesitant while something people have to because lying there for a couple of hours. So we have to rethink, we have to reinvent how we have to run now. Sir, I can't hear you.
Sorry. If you are giving puff pastry, to a guest,
yes,
you'd have it sort of semi-prepped, and when a guest asks for it, you'll heat and serve. Or is that what you're planning to do? Or what is the... Because right now, everything is ready. I mean, you just serve it.
Yeah, whenever it goes to the guest, it's our general practice also. Whenever it goes to the guest, either it is reheated and gone to the table. Though now, I think what we are going to practice from now is that we will be going to bake them in batches, so that whenever it comes, it goes fresh to the guest.
Right.
Though as for the morning bakeries, we do like the baking of our morning bakeries we are practicing this for a couple of years to bake them in batches, so that whenever it comes fresh, it goes to the table.
Like you do with the croissants and
yes.
Okay, I will because a very specific question has been asked. Seemaji, I'll ask you this: which is the best way in future to sanitize sweet shop stroke neighborhood bakeries? Sanitizers spray sanitizers, wet wipes. Simaji, unmute, please.
A thorough cleaning is a must before any sanitizing.
Okay.
So a lot of people just get down with the sanitizer thinking that that is the magic spray. But the fact is that you have to first remove the organic content or anything that is decaying, remove it, and then use a sanitizer suitable for a surface. So if it is a food contact surface, then a spray sanitizer will work as long as we do not have any food exposed right next to it. And a sanitizing has to always happen when the food is never exposed in the area.
Okay.
And then start it. So you could actually start it as, typically for a, let's say a pastry shop or a mithai shop, let's say. So the end of the day cleaning of the counters is very, very important because you have big products. Even a small fallen down there can actually rot and smell very bad.
Right, right.
Physical cleaning should be done in the night at its closing shift, and the sanitizing should be done in the morning before you open it, before the shop is laid out. So you actually sanitize and then you pull out the fresh material and put it in display. So that is the ideal. And a spray sanitizer like a quaternary based compound would work very well. I can't hear you, Mr. Sarish.
Yeah, so sodium hypochlorite is now being talked about a lot as the best sanitizer available. Yet, a lot of people have expressed doubts about its efficacy or its, whether it should be around food, because people talk about it being sort of not good for human health. You know?
Sodium hypochlorite usually is used for sanitizing fruits and vegetables. It gives the best results that way.
Okay, okay.
You have to use for the salad counter or you have to use fruits in the display. These should be first sanitized with hypochlorite.
Right.
But if you are trying to make an aerosol out of it, then generally it is not recommended because the aerosol can irritate your respiratory linings. If you are exposed to a higher concentration or if you're exposed to it every day, then it can actually irritate your respiratory linings.
Right. So you would limit it to fruit and vegetable and say salad bars.
Method. So it is not harmful in any way. You soak fruits and vegetables after washing in sanitizer, and that's the best. But for aerosol sprays and all, then you get quaternary ammonium compounds, which when you breathe are not harmful at all.
Right, right, right. Is it ammonium compounds?
Quaternary compounds. There are quaternary salts. So there are ammonium compound salts are there. Then there are some butyric acids also, which are approved by FDA and also by the Indian government.
Okay, okay, right.
Yeah, these are now standard companies in super concentrated forms, and you could use it as low as 0.1%.
Okay, 1% of 0.5%. Okay, Dr. Tyagi, a question for you has come up. Please unmute.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Tyagi, there's now health, food or healthy eating has become the big new normal, especially during this lockdown period. So a lot of people are saying that, are you going to change your product line to have, items with a longer shelf life, because, people need to keep your products for a longer time than present. And also, are you going to have a health food line, which is going to be much bigger than your present line?
Yeah. This is a very good question. At the health front is concerned, we have already started some of the healthy food from the last 3-4 years. For example, you take the example of our hing jeera chana kekar. Take the example of our masala hing jeera chana kekar. Similarly, we are also making the chana jor garam, which is also low fat. Hing jeera chana kekar is the roasted food. We are also making the roasted mixture. We are also making the baked gullia. We are also making the some of the other roasted matri, etc. So first I want to tell you, we have already started the healthy food. We have also sugar-free rasgulla. We have also sugar-free son papdi. We have also sugar-free gulab jamun. So I think both the market will grow, because for the in India, you know, lot of the people are the under malnutrition.
Right.
So you require the food for the these people. I think more than 80% is under malnutrition, which require the such type of the food. So I think we have to continue focus on the both type of the food, our regular food as well as healthy food.
Right.
In our regular food also, most of product in addition to the fried, they are healthy. Take the example of the moong dal. This had 18% fat, but this had the high protein. Similarly, take the example of the chana dal. It is also gluten free, it is also high protein, and it had the less fat.
Right. Right.
And we have the example of the cheese ball, which is the baked product.
Right.
We have the tomato ring, we have the masala ring, which is the baked product. So Haldiram is making all type of the food. It is fried also. It is fried with high protein also. It is fried with gluten free also. It is low fat food also. It is the roasted namkeen and roasted food also. So this we have already started since last 4 or 5 years.
So, you know, this whole, whole perception that, you know, all these bhujiyas and all are not good for health, you know. So I think you have countered that enough, you know.
I think there is misperception. Our most of the product has the lentils.
Right.
If you take the example of aloo bhujia, it has the chana dal. It has the besan. If you take the example of bhujia, it has the mood dal. So there is a big difference between Western snack and Indian snack.
Right.
Most of the Indian snacks prepared from the lentil. Lentil itself is healthy.
Right.
So we are making whatever fried food, they have the lentil, they have the, just like a chana dal, moong dal, just like a mood dal. And similarly, we are also making some of the baked products which are oil free and have maximum 10% oil content. And we are also making the roasted product also. Now we come to the long life. We have the Kaju Katli, which had the life of nearly 2 months. We have the laddu also, which had the life of the 2 months. Because we have developed with our business partner a technology by which we can pack the fresh sweet under nitrogen and CO2. We take the 70% nitrogen, 30% CO2 and pack the sweet so it can last just like a fresh for 2 months. So we have also already started most of the sweet, especially for the export market, which had the long life. In the export market, we are selling the Kaju Katli of 2 to 3 month life. Similarly, in the export market, we are also selling the Bundi Laddu, which had the shelf life of the 2 months. In addition to that, we have also started most of the frozen food. Suppose you take the example of any, just like a palak paneer, just like a dal makhani, just like a mixed vegetable, all are coming in the frozen food, which had the shelf life of the 1 year. And especially we are selling for the export market. And now we have started for the modern trade also.
I think like that is, from the question, it seems you will get a lot of queries from your local suppliers for, you know, for food with longer shelf life. I think that's going to happen very soon in India. So, Mr. Tripathi, I had a question.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Yeah, Dr. Tyagi, sorry, continue. Sorry.
Basically, we got the lot of the feed from the export market also. If you recall, before 6 years or 7 years, we was making only ready to eat.
Right.
Which is returned. But when we got the customer feedback from India as well as from the abroad, that there is a scope of the frozen food. Because the frozen food has the better taste as compared to ready to eat. because here in the ready to eat, the amount of the cooking is more as compared to frozen food. Frozen food is just like as your homemade food. You have to make the food and then go minus 40 degrees centigrade, then keep at minus 20 degrees centigrade. It will have the life of 1 year, and you just thaw it and heat it, and you can eat it. It will be just like a fresh food. So on the basis of customer feedback, we have started the long life sweet, fresh sweet. On the basis of customer feedback, we have started the frozen food. Now we are going to start frozen food in India also, especially in the modern trade. Of course, in some of the modern trade, just like a Reliance, we have already started the frozen food. Can you listen me?
Yes, Doctor. Yes, Mr. Tyagi, we are getting you.
Yeah, getting you loud and clear. Mr. Naqvi, a question for you. I think if unmute him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, when we were having a conversation, private conversation, you had mentioned that a lot of you are working on online delivery models, just to promote the idea of contactless delivery. Now, increasingly, that has become the new buzzword. So, how are you achieving online deliveries in the vast mithai market?
See, as we discussed that day as well, there was some activities already taking place on the online delivery mechanism. We also have examples like Swiggy and Zomato, successful models they are running. Though when it comes to business or mithai shops, sometimes they prefer them and sometimes they don't. So that's a different point altogether. But in these last 30-40 days, it gave us time to reevaluate our things, especially on online delivery system and hygiene, improvement in the shops and way of selling and so many other things. So many of the members have tried and they are getting successful. They are launching their own platforms to deliver the sweets within the boundaries of their cities and regions, which will further grow. Because if suppose you want something special from Hyderabad or from Delhi to Chennai or Chennai to Mumbai, you need to have either a system, a coordination between local manufacturers of these two cities, or a good delivery mechanism. So this lockdown gave us an opportunity to rework on our systems, to contact the right people who can help us doing in this. And I will not name, but many of the members have really established a very good thing where they are getting good business out of a kind of a dark room sale. There is no shop, but the shop has been converted into a dark room, and they are
so like it's what they call cloud kitchens in the restaurant context. This is like cloud mithai shops.
Yeah, cloud mithai shop would be a term. So this is already, in China. I was talking to one of the friends who's having Chinese business and staying in India, and he told me that China has really changed the entire, delivery system in the last 2-3 months, especially in ice cream industry. It has been revolutionized in China. So we can always copy these models, and since we have time, so we can really work on this hard and take the experts' views on that, and this will further grow because people will be having more hygienic mindsets now. And you can observe yourself when you see one of your neighbor in the lift nowadays. You really you get just get into a corner. So it is gonna carry in our minds for a long time now.
It's just like everyone is doing namaste nowadays, So,
yeah. Salam namaste.
Oh, salam. Yeah. Now, Chef Anand, I'll come back, because there's a question about, your colleague in Roseate House, Anand Panwar, whom Anand Panwar of Roseate House.
Yes.
He has been talking about live kitchens, that, people can actually see the kitchen. And in fact, this is a point made by Zorawar Kalra in a Restaurators Forum. That you can actually see the kitchen 24 hours to satisfy yourself that that everything is healthy, or everything is, for the new normal. Is it a practical solution to regaining, because getting back customer confidence will be your biggest challenge?
Yeah, of course, this should help even not only in Roseate House, but I've observed in most of the in front of the guest, studio, everything is kept in the studio.
Chef, there's an audio problem.
Preparing. And
Chef, there's an audio problem at your end.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can get you now, yes.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Yes, you can talk. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, though, as said, not only Chef Anand Panwar, in ITC Hotel, Fabel is one of the outlets which I have observed that they have changed the kitchen structure as so that they can plate the dessert in front of the guest.
Okay.
So they have created a studio kitchen inside the restaurant. So it gives a confidence to the guest also that whatever is being prepared for them is in a more hygienic manner. And of course, it will support in future.
Right. So studio kitchens, live kitchens, these will become very big in the bakery and confectionery space in hotels. Okay, I think we have lost Chef Anand. Well, okay, by the time...
I can see you, sir.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm saying we'll see more of studio kitchens and live kitchens in the bakery and confectionery spaces. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Seemaji,
like in our coffee shop also.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in our coffee shop also. What in the layback section we thought of, okay, now we have a pizza oven there. Why not fresh bread, fresh croissants to be moved from the oven straight away to the guest?
Absolutely.
It will give more confidence to the guest.
Right, exactly. That's true. Because everyone is now, I think, paranoid about human contact, So I'll go back to our kitchen equipment supplier friends, and we'll keep the last word for Seemaji at the end, and we'll have Hari Daduji. You'll have your words right at the end, like always. You're the man with the last word, So we'll go to our kitchen suppliers first. Nitinji, tell me, you heard the chef talking. Do you have, say, a product in your range which will promote this whole contactless live kitchen? Because now people are talking about contactless live kitchen. Is it possible to have a contactless live kitchen?
Food is made by hand. How can you have a food without using your hand?
That is a question.
That is the main thing.
Right.
Of course, you cannot say contactless, but yes, the overall scenario is going to change. You see, I just jotted down some points. You see, the overall redesigning of the kitchen has to take place.
Right.
Wherein the live kitchens will come in. You have certain 5-star deluxe hotels having bakery section in the live kitchen, coffee shop sections. Automation, technology, hygiene standards have to be upgraded. Irrespective of wherever you are having a small restaurant, you are in a 5-star property, you need to upgrade your systems, you need to upgrade your overall technology sector. The most important thing is training. Training is going to be the key factor in overall scenario. Without training your manpower, it will be very difficult to basically handle all these SOPs, it will be very difficult. Cloud kitchens are definitely going into the future of the industry. You will see wherever you don't, the customer does not goes to a restaurants, orders every, you have a smaller kitchens, no direct customer contacts. Delivery, yes, you have certain delivery issues were there in the last week in the papers, but nevertheless they are going to be the future of the industry nowadays. Rationalization of manpower is definitely going. Whenever you increase the technology, automation, rationalization of manpower is going to take place. And moreover, again, I would say training is definitely going to handle the whole scenario in this COVID-19, post-COVID-19.
So I think the trainers, like, I think Seemaji, you have a big role now, the post-COVID-19, training the trainers.
Seemaji
very important.
And rest of the trainers will have a major role in handling the post-COVID-19 section.
There's already a demand on one of the, he's a principal of IHM Meerut. He was saying that, increasingly, I think we have to also look at training the students about the new hygiene regulations. Because right now, I think students are not exposed much to hygiene regulations.
Nobody is exposed to hygiene regulations as of now. But
right.
Yes, from the student perspective, yes, the training has to start from the IHM curriculum.
Right. I think that's a major change called for.
Yes, the training has to start from the curriculum.
Yes, right. Mr. Tripathi, someone asked, how do you implement the 80-20 rule in restaurants?
Well, I think restaurants where the dine-in is there, then obviously with the social distancing and with the kind of sitting people will have to adopt, the menu has to be revised, because if you work on an elaborate menu, then you will have a lot of food wastage. So because if you count the per square feet footfall or the number of sitting occupied per hour, then you have to cut down on the manpower, you have to cut down on the admin cost, you have to cut down on the menu, you have to cut down on the raw material, so that you can survive with the kind of overheads which are going to be there, considering the kind of sales which you get.
So in this case, you focus on the 20% of the menu that gets you 80% of the revenues.
Exactly. So
that's okay. So I think
cost is going to rise with the 80-20 kind of ratio.
Right.
Food cost is going to rise when you prepare the stuff in batches.
Right.
Definitely the food cost with overall will rise.
Right. So I think restaurators will have to do a lot of maths. I think in the next 1 or 2 months of lockdown that they have ahead.
No, this is the time actually to analyze the old data, analyze the sales, analyze how you are performing, which product were doing well, which were not doing, what kind of people are there in the team, who can be removed, what kind of costs can be reduced, because whosoever is on a low admin cost for the next 6, 8, 12 months will be surviving the fastest.
Right.
And you also have to see how you handle the employees, how do you handle the temperament, because there is a lot of worry within the team that will my job remain, will I get the salary, and all those things. So I think there has to be a communication, there has to be a team building exercise, there has to be a building trust on the vendors, because a lot of payments are being stuck. So we as an industry,
I think people are very worried about the payments. Some of the questions are about that.
Exactly.
About vendor payments being stuck here.
Exactly. So as an industry, we work with the ecosystem. We work with the ecosystem of suppliers, vendors, manpower, your IT team, your delivery system. So everybody at the moment is in a stage of panic. So to get the ball rolling, we have to survive. We have to bring back the ecosystem and bring a confidence within the team.
Right.
Also,
okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. You have half a minute. Please tell me.
Okay. So I am just wrapping it up that the silver lining is that we being into the food industry, which is going to survive the fastest. Food, pharma, and FMCG will revamp the fastest. But and as all entrepreneurs, we are the ones who have been taking risk and we know how to survive. So it's just that how how we manage the current scenario with a good insight, with a good thoughtful thought process for the future, and with a good lot of patience.
That's right. Great. Mr. Mittal, your thoughts? Please unmute. Please unmute. Can the admin help? Yeah. Mr. Mittal, you are unmuted. Yeah.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. What I'm telling, we have to redesign the all equipment and reduce the manpower. That is the thing only. We have to keep the all things live, minimum space and maximum utilization.
No, Mr. Mittal, sorry to interject, but because this is an important question which came up earlier in our previous panel. All our previous panelists said that hotels and restaurants are going to reduce the capex to zero. So when you're talking about when you're talking about new model kitchens and all, they're not going to come in very soon. I guess they'll only come in the financial year 2021-22.
2020 is gone. I don't think there will be anything like that.
Right.
We have to think further what we can do.
Right. Yes.
And this, how long it will go, we don't know. It may be a 1.5 year or 2 years.
Right. That's true. Mr. Naqvi, I'll come and because it's a very important event happening in 2021, and that is a World Convention of the. Can you say in like a minute what are how big will these hygiene and sanitary matters be on the World Convention agenda?
See, they were there. We are very closely working with the FSSAI, and they are partnering with us on so many fronts. But now I think our post-corona world would see more of innovative products on hygiene, on food safety, more of fast-track training. I mean, this will really accelerate into many folds. I would say 500 to 1,000% people will be looking more for these kind of. I was just reading one of the questions in the sidelines. One guy is committing that they are providing COVID-free packaging. So these kind of things would more pop up, and people will be more interested and they will be ready to pay for that. And consumer
in fact, one of the questions I had earlier, do you see packaged mithai becoming a big business in this post-COVID environment?
Yes, that is going to be the future of the industry, where you will see mithai easily available even on a pan shop. Our target is to make that mithai available just like a snack. You see a lot of snacks hanging on the counters. You would see maybe in years to come, you would see laddus and pedas and things like that would be there in sachets. So branded mithai is going to change the entire thing. We are going to grab our lost ground to the chocolate industry and confectionery industry, but I would say that they will also grow. But we would be the real players of the Indian dessert and sweets industry in future.
Right, absolutely. As promised, Seemaji, I have come to you for the second last word. The last word belongs to Mr. Dadu. Like Mr. Lucky just mentioned about how important FOSTAC is going to be, in the new world, the new normal. How prepared are we for promoting or to disseminating the new information that we have?
I haven't discontent yet with any of the FSSAI officials, but FOSTAC training is a very, very basic food safety hygiene training, which is mandatory for at least 20 workers in a collection of 100 people. And expect that these 20 at least will disseminate the same knowledge to their co-workers. So there is currently not 100% coverage that the FSSAI is asking for, but a certain percentage of your staff to be certified in that. Now, in the wake of such infections and pandemics, I think this course should be, the FOSTAC training should be upgraded to in fact, I would say that 100% food handlers should be covered in this.
Right. There is room for a FOSTEC 2.0.
Yes. So right now, the accessibility, the cost is a concern for a lot of organizations to get it annually done, to actually look at their attrition rates and see that, people whom they had trained last year are not there with them. So they, again, to maintain that 20% pool, then they have to select new employees to get certified on that page. So one is that there should be a simpler way of getting the staff trained, and also a cheaper way, because currently it has a certain cost per head, and a lot of smaller organizations, if they are having a lot of employees to get trained, then that becomes a challenge for them.
I think for a start, all hotel management schools all across India should introduce hygiene regulations or FOSTEC as one of its courses. Do you agree with me?
FOSTEC is a very, very basic, maybe half a day to a day long.
Right.
But I think as far as I know, the IHM does have a chapter in one of the first years, I think.
One chapter only.
Yes, on hygiene, but I think it needs to be taken into a greater depth. And, its relevance in terms of how to control it, because that hygiene part is also, I think, a bit ancient, but now we need to look at it in terms of selecting your equipment, right? Like there is a lot of advancement in equipment. A lot of these refrigerated units, for example, in the display are still being run on old type, where you have a lot of condensation on the product, condensation in the surface, which adds to the contamination. But again, like Mr. Mittal also is one of the key leaders who has devised this, which is a frost-free one, and does help in reducing the contamination and increasing the shelf life of the product or keeping the product safe. So similarly, the hygiene chapter should include selecting the right equipment, maintaining hygiene in the process, how the contamination flows. So that basic knowledge in the IHM course, I think, needs to be kind of enhanced.
Absolutely. I think it's a very important point. There was, I had one more question to ask you, but just slip. But anyway, I think there is, you think that coming back to the IHM thing, that it should be taken up on an emergency basis by the National Council, so that from next academic year itself it can be introduced.
Be incorporated. I mean, it is not like some bitter drug or something. It's all about just enhancing a few more lectures and maybe enhancing and covering all the aspects of handling food.
That brings me back to the role of the microbiologists. That was the question I wanted to ask you. Now, hotels, have microbiologists. Some food companies have, but do you think microbiologists should now become mandatory for all, establishment handling food?
Yes, because microbiologists can actually, kind of imagine how the bacteria moves and in what conditions it can grow. So from a food safety perspective, all factories that are handling food, I would strongly recommend that in their QA team, they must have one microbiologist as a quality assurance person. There are people who, there are food technologists or biotechnologists as well nowadays joining up the quality assurance team. But yes, there has to be one food technologist in the quality assurance team.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hari Dadu, the last word at these webinars have always belonged to you. So, आप जरा unmute करेंगे, please. हाँ, please. हम बड़े उत्सुक हैं आपको सुनने के लिए. Yes, please, Mr. Dadu. We can't. There is a problem with your audio. I can hear you now.
Audio issues are there with Dadu.
Okay. Tusharji, shall we?
Yes, sir.
What Mr. Dadu, is there a problem?
Might be some problem with his device.
Okay.
दादू जी, can you please? दादू जी, आप अपनी आवाज खोलेंगे उसमें से?
हाँ, आपने हेडफोन निकाल दीजिए और डायरेक्ट बात कर लें।
हेडफोन निकाल दें, ऊपर जो साइन है उसको दबा दें, निकाल के ऊपर साइन को दबा दो, कोने में जो ऊपर आपके है। स्पीकर को ऑन कर दो, आप स्पीकर पे बात कर लो। आप
स्पीकर पे बात करिए।
स्पीकर को ऑन कर दीजिए, आप हेडफोन निकाल दीजिए।
Not working. I think he would be definitely inviting us to the show in coming months. Assume is because he.
Anyway, I hope you'll all be present there in full strength.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. He's a restless guy. He's really worked very hard.
He will not allow anyone to
on his knees. So,
correct. Daduji is the force behind IHE. I would like to just, I think then, in that case, Sarish, let me say the role of Daduji. First of all, on behalf of Mr. Hari Dadu, President Indian Hospitality, India International Hospitality Expo, I thank all the panelists. I'm also very glad to inform you there were about 750 registration, and at any given time there were about 400 persons who were as a participants over there. We had around 75 chefs, 50 CEO, 27 directors of the company. Then we also had very eminent person who are the member of the advisory board. They were also present here. We have in this program with us Mr. Ajay Khanna, Mr. Rajiv Sachdeva, Mr. Sanjay Khullar, Mr. Sanjay Anand, Rajat Taneja ji, and also we had Mr. Rajesh Kumar ji, MD Kumar Equipment, Harvest Singh, MD Western Refrigeration, Sanjay Jain ji from LN Pro, Ritesh Sinha ji, CEO Biryani by Kilo, Raju Wilfred, CEO William Refrigeration, and many more stalwarts. Plus, there are participants from 19 countries who are in the show. So thanks to eminent panelists who have made it really a wonderful platform for discussions on this subject. The video will be placed on the YouTube, entire recording, and also the questions which have not been specifically answered, that answer will be sent by by Mr. Swarish Bhattacharya in due course to all individuals and also collectively. With these words, I would like to conclude today's webinar, and thanks Swarish Bhattacharya for really moderating it very well, and also all the support to Tushar and Niranjan who have given all the background support along with the team IML, Mr. Sudeep Sarkar, CEO, and other members of the IML. Thank you very much again. Thank you, Mr. Nirmal Khandelwal. Thank you, Mr. Anil Malhotra, Mr. Rajat Pandey, Watermai, PPFI, HPMF, and all of you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.